This is what you wanted, right?
One of the most popular shows on television today. It has grown substantially since it debuted 2 weeks, or not 2 weeks, but 2 years ago.
Mhm.
And in that time frame, it's just won a host of awards based off of the first season, which was really sort of an incredible first showing out of that series. It won, I think, 10 Emmys when it was up for consideration this past year. It also won 4 Golden Globe Awards. And so if you didn't know about The Bear before, I think a lot of people knew based on those awards win, and obviously based on season 2, which just really increased the popularity even more so. This was one of the finest television shows that we had on TV. And so coming into this third season, obviously anticipation was very, very high, and they've been churning
Mhm.
these out on a yearly basis, just consistently have been filming this series pretty much back to back and putting out a new season every single year. And so now FX and Hulu have dropped the newest batch of 10 episodes for this third season. We got a chance to check these out. And so we're going to talk about The Bear today, not really in spoilerific detail, but we're definitely going to give our thoughts and opinions on this brand new season. So with all of that out the way, man, I will pass it to you. What did you think about this new season of The Bear?
I absolutely still very much enjoy this show. Season 3 is something different for sure than the first two seasons. It's so much more intimate, which is crazy because I feel like that was part of the point of season 2 as well, was to get a little bit more intimate with these characters amidst what we're usually hearing the chaos in the kitchen. But this one seems to it seems to do that even in even a different way. We focus on a couple of even different characters, or even give our characters some smaller moments to kind of stick to episode to episode. And overall, I still really enjoy the show, but it does feel incomplete. There are things in this season that I don't know. I think I sought to get there would be some kind of arc, or I thought something would get resolved, or some things would progress a little bit more than they did, and it feels like a one parter to me. And I think that's the main thing to me that in the way this season feels. I still love everything happening. I love how intimate it gets. I love the risks kind of being taken in a lot of these episodes to for these things to kind of progress. I think the way in which they're progressing, but I think by the end of the season, I was like, oh wait, is that it? Is that the end of the season? Is there not more? And I think it's a smart idea. They dropped all the episodes at one time. It feels like that's still a good idea, giving what the ending is or giving how it feels. But I think I was looking for a little bit more of like some kind of resolution or a step forward, by the end of this. And I don't think I technically got that. I feel like a lot of this season feels like bonus content, but I love bonus content. Don't get me wrong. Like, again, I'm still enjoying myself watching the show. But I don't know, something by the end of it, I was like, I feel like we could have put a couple more plot points in here, or talked about a little more plot points to move things forward. But overall, I still love the Bear. The acting is still fantastic. I really love the way it looks still. There are really deep episodes in here, particularly the one with Tina is an episode I like a lot. I think the themes in it work so well. Kind of it really is an episode about her, kind of her origins and how she got to the beef in the first place. I really like the episode. I think there was a lot in there to talk about. But yeah, man, I still love this show. I'm just hoping that the next season doesn't feel as, I don't know, like in between seasony as this one does. This one feels like, let's put something here in order to get to the next point. Almost feels like a filler season in a couple ways. But yeah, I still love the show. I just hope the next season they can I don't know, I can feel some resolution with some of the characters and some of the storylines going on. But I'm still enjoying myself.
And this hasn't been announced yet, but I fully believe that season 4 is going to be the last season of this show. They are
Mhm.
shooting allegedly season 3 and season 4 back to back, and so they're probably underway with filming season 4 at this very moment. And ever since they announced that they were going to renew it for 3 and 4, that I always felt like, okay, well, they're trying to get this out as quickly as they can while they still have everybody available, because a lot of this cast is going to get tremendously busy if they already haven't at this point. But with season 3 of The Bear, as I said, expectations were super, super high for the show, because I think that season 2 was just one of the finest seasons of television in 2023. It was absolutely extraordinary. The 2 episodes that came in the middle of the season, Fish Sticks and Forks, that was
Mhm.
just unbelievable television, and that 1-2 punch of those 2 episodes it was incredible. It was some of the highest highs that we've experienced, not only in this show but again in the past few years of TV. So coming into season 3, a lot of hopes and expectations, and ultimately this season doesn't really live up to that. You said a lot of what I think is true for not only yourself, but for a lot of people, in the fact that this was designed from the get-go to be the first part of a story. And
Mm-hmm.
inherently, whenever you do that and things are left unfinished and incomplete, you're going to definitely have people disappointed. But even further than that, further than just the design of the story and the fact that this is really kind of a 20 episode story as opposed to a 10 episode story, which the first two seasons were, I think that the lack of movement with a lot of the characters is really what's holding back this season from being as great as it could be. And I think that seeing some of the people sidelined in the show that really should
Mm-hmm.
be at the forefront of the majority of the story, it's pretty disappointing. In particular, Io Debris' character, she does deal with something in this particular season that they set up and they don't pay off quite yet. But for a lot of the episodes, I find that she's one of the perfect foils and one of the perfect compatriots compared to Carmi, obviously the main character that we're following, and the fact that we just don't get a ton of interaction between these two, it's definitely, I think, a missed opportunity because we know that Io Debris is proven to be excellent in this show and in other things, and so
Mm-hmm.
her sidelining was one of those things that definitely felt like a wasted opportunity. In addition to that, I think that the bear might be in the place, and I think a lot of shows get to this place where perhaps the creators and the filmmakers might be smelling their own shit. That just might be the reality of it, because there were certain sequences and scenes in this particular season where I'm like, okay, this is going on for quite a while. Do we need as many flashbacks? Do we need as much of this style and substance and flair to some of these shots and some of these montages and
Mm-hmm.
sequences? Because a lot of those moments oftentimes sacrifice the ability to spend more time with characters and to hear dialogue and to hear conversations, which is why seasons 1 and season 2 were so excellent, because we always got those conversations in addition to all of the flair and the flashy stuff that they do. And I think that this season they kind of doubled down on that approach, just from a experimentation standpoint, to really do a lot of montages and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
flashbacks, which don't always provide, I think, as clear of a window into the forward progression of a show. You really have to make some intentional steps to make sure that everybody is moving forward in a meaningful way, because you can just kind of go down the list and say, okay, what did Cousin do really this season? What was his arc? What did he experience? Sydney's character, like we introduced something there, but it didn't really take her to a new place quite yet. She's still sort of grappling with whatever the outcome is going to be. Even Carmi, as the main character, he's pretty much achieved a lot of what he wanted to achieve. He opened this really fine dining establishment at this point, and that was just so much of the conflict in season 2. And now he's sort of at the point where he's wrestling with his ambition and sort of grappling with the
Mm-hmm.
question of, am I going to have to sacrifice these things that I care about in my life? The relationship with my cousin or the relationship with Claire. Like, are these things going to fall by the wayside because I want to be the best? And that idea is really, really interesting. That's an excellent idea, especially for him, because he has sort of reached the top, the pinnacle of what he can achieve in his industry. But a lot just felt left on the table that they didn't take it really as far as they could, because I feel like a lot of that stuff is probably being left for season 4,
Yeah.
unfortunately. All of that being said, though, there's 2 episodes in the season that still prove why this is like still one of the finest shows on all of television. That's the episode you mentioned earlier, Napkins, that focuses on Tina, directed by Iowa Debris. Just incredible, incredible stuff there. Just really one of their standout episodes of the entire series up until this point.
Mm-hmm.
I just loved everything that they did, and there's moments and conversations that happen throughout the course of that episode and characters that come back. All of that stuff just works really, really well. And then the other episode is Ice Chips,
Mm-hmm.
which focuses on a mother daughter dynamic is what I'll say. Very, very tense situation, and it focuses on healing some past trauma, confronting it head on in a very,
Very
very
good.
intimate, slow, just well thought out, well paced episode that I just thought was absolutely tremendous. It was really, really great stuff. But sometimes having episodes like that, we kind of scale back and don't focus on the food aspect as much, and like the
Mm-hmm.
industry that they're in, which a lot of what season 1 and 2 was about was the family stuff, the previous trauma, these relationships. But I do find that maybe sometimes expanding out this cast and focusing on some of the other characters and giving them entire episodes to themselves, like, all right, well, we're kind of getting further and further away from some of the things that maybe made the show special in the first place. Last quick thing I'll say, I think we've probably gotten a little bit too crazy with the cameos. There was a cameo in this
Yeah, I
season,
was like,
early in the
what?
season, that just it didn't make sense to me. It doesn't really fit that particular actor. Love
Mm-hmm.
him. and love a lot of stuff that he does, but I don't think he really fits in this
But
world. It just didn't make
why?
sense to me. So I think they've gotten a little too crazy with that. That's what I meant when, I think they're smelling their own shit. They know that they can sort of yield some of the best talent, some of the most recognizable names in Hollywood, and also really kind of do some self-indulgent practices on just like filmmaking aesthetics and style and choices and things of that nature. But with that being said, I will say, this is not something that's unique that we're saying here. There's been like a pretty significant backlash to this new season. This is a
Hmm.
conversation that's come up quite a lot, and I think a lot of people maybe walked away feeling disappointed by this season. I feel like all great shows probably come to this point at some particular point. Like it's almost inevitable that if you have a great show, you're going to have a season that people just kind of look at and say like, hey, this really isn't it. Do you find that a lot of the discourse and the criticism around the Bear season 3 is kind of warranted just based on how it's been sort of rolled out, parsed out, and just how the story's been executed? Or do you think there maybe should be a little bit more grace because it is sort of set up to be kind of a two-part story, and we've seen that done before in other mediums, mostly movies, but not really in
Hmm.
television has that been done all that frequently.
I'm on the side of grace, man. I really am. They gave us two fantastic seasons, and still I do like this season. It's just again, I think a lot of people do have some of those same, qualms with it being the way it is. It feels like a one parter. But I think a show that is going to come back, and this feels like a one parter, like I get it. I feel what everyone else is feeling, but part of me is like, y'all, there's still a whole nother season that needs to happen. A lot of this stuff can be resolved. There's a lot of conflict we know that's about to come up. It's going to be crazy. Like I'm still very excited for the next season, and sometimes it takes a good setup season for some of that stuff to come full circle and come to fruition. So I think there's still a lot to be done, a lot of story to be told, and I think a lot of people are a little too hard. I just think I seen somebody was like, yeah, I'm not going to watch season 4 until it gets reviewed first. And it's a good, like, do you even really like the show? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. There's things I think people are going a little too hard for the show about, for sure. I think some things are fair, but yeah, I think some people are just like, yeah, time to hate this thing all of a sudden. We're like, what? It wasn't bad. It's just, just not what we thought it was going to be. And I think that's okay too. Every show is not going to get it perfect all the time. Like it's one season. It can't, most of us watch it in like 3 days. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you lost a ton of time either. So yeah, I just think some people are going a little too overboard with how they feel. I think, but yeah, I think I'm on the side of giving the show grace.
I'm gonna qualify what I say here because I just don't have all the information, but I am sticking with my theory that season 4 is going to be the last
Mm-hmm.
because typically in any medium, whether it's TV or movies, when you do sort of a two-part story, that's
Mm-hmm.
intended to be the concluding chapter that's going to really write off the story. And there have been a couple of shows that have done it before. Breaking Bad split up their final season, Mad Men, The Sopranos. Like this has
All
occurred
bangers.
before, but
Yeah.
those were all for final seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So if season 4 is indeed the final season and season 3 was told in the way that it's told, I'll be okay with it. If season 4 is not the final season, I'll very
Mm-hmm.
much question the decision. Well, why are we doing that in the first place? Why do we feel the need to tell a story over 2 seasons when maybe we could have figured out a way to move the pacing along? Because I don't really see and understand the point at doing a two-part story if this isn't really going to resolve and wrap everything up. And also I wonder and question if season 4 is indeed the last season. Would it have been a smart decision to maybe market this that way, market
Mm-hmm.
season 3 that, hey y'all, this is kind of the first part of a two-parter. This isn't really going to resolve everything, not like season 1 and season 2 did, which had very contained arcs and stories that pretty much wrapped up neatly by the season finale. And I
Yep.
wonder if maybe they took that route, if they probably would have maybe experienced a little bit less backlash. But it also could be very much a situation where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, just based on the way things play out in that particular respect. But I remember things like Breaking Bad and Mad Men when they split up their final seasons. Like we just kind of knew, like, well, yeah, we're going to be here for like the next 2 years watching the story unfold. Even Game of Thrones, to an extent, that was kind of the case. Like you knew
Mm-hmm.
that there was just more to come, so you didn't have this expectation that like, oh yeah, at the end of season 7, part 1, everything's going to conclude and be wrapped up. Like we just knew, no, the story has to continue. There's more to tell, and so I do wonder maybe if there could have been something done to try to alleviate that conversation, because I do think that
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people have a lot of disdain for this season based on the fact that, like, not only did things not really feel like they moved, but then by the end of it, you tell us, like, yeah, we kind of did this on purpose because we're not giving you the full story yet,
Mm-hmm.
which can sometimes feel like a slap in the face for the audience, which I certainly get. I definitely
I get
understand
it.
that because it's never been told to us. It's never been communicated that this was intended to be a two-parter. This is something that we found out
Mm-hmm.
as we watched it. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see how things shake out with The Bear season 4 when it does arrive. But folks, those are all of our thoughts on the third season of the FX and Hulu comedy drama The Bear. If you've checked out these brand new 10 episodes, hit us up and let us know what you think.